The construction is still on hold, but the controversial CMP power corridor is front and center once again in Augusta today. Good evening, I'm Pat Callahan.
And I'm Amanda Hill. The corridor is facing three big hurdles, two forthcoming decisions from Maine's Supreme Court and one from the State Board of Environmental Protection, which is being asked to take a second look at the permit it already granted the project.
News Center Maine's Don Carrigan has tonight's top story out of Augusta.
The corridor itself has been quiet for almost 8 months, waiting for the courts to decide if construction can ever start again. It was almost as quiet at the Augusta Civic Center, where corridor opponents showed up to remind the state's top environmental regulators, the Board of Environmental Protection, that a lot of people still do not want the project.
And I think it's important for the board members to see that, Mainers are still watching very closely.
The Department of Environmental Protection granted a permit for the NECEC more than 2 years ago. But it took all this time for the board to hear the appeal of that permit. Opponents argue that the decision ignored harm to wildlife and fish habitat, harm to scenic views, and other concerns. The DEP's project manager defended the process and the decision that was made.
There were 6 days of conflicting technical testimony, and that testimony and the cross-examination of the witnesses provided the commissioner with the information he needed to make an evaluation of the project and determine that it met standards.
But that permit was decided by then Department Commissioner Jerry Reed, now the chief legal counsel for the governor. Corridor opponents argue that under Maine law, the decision should have been made by the All-Citizen Board of Environmental Protection.
And one of the fundamental questions for the board today is here you have a circumstance where the commissioner at the time essentially blew that off, ignored it, decided he was going to hear it and not refer to the board as he was required to by the statute.
The board will now decide what, if anything, happens next. And this hearing and this protest may just be sidelights to the big issue in regard to the corridor, all sides still waiting for decisions from the Maine Supreme Court. The court needs to rule whether the corridor should have gotten legislative approval to use a section of public land and whether the law passed by voters in referendum last year is constitutional.
In some ways, we're going through the paces here at the BEP, but it could all be a moot point depending on the ruling that comes out from the law court.
The decision from the Supreme Court is expected at any time. The Board of Environmental Protection will decide after Thursday whether to hold a new hearing or deny the appeal. In Augusta, Don Carrigan, News Center, Maine.
And late this afternoon, we got a statement from the New England Clean Energy Connect saying the NECEC has gone to great lengths to mitigate the environmental impacts of the project, affecting only 1,000 acres of land while committing to conserve over 40,000 acres. The company also says the real and serious need for this project to address climate change remains unchanged.